Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Communications from Home. This is my weekly evening live stream show right here on Facebook at Star Nation's organization's main fan page. And this, we've been doing this particular show since 2017. And so we got a lot of experience under our belt with this one. And so thank you for joining me this evening. I do appreciate it. Those that are joining us through Facebook and those that are joining us through, yes, YouTube. Because of our partners at Be Live, we're able to simulcast now to YouTube. So thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight's show, tonight's show is all about being present. And when I was working, pulling together the prep work for all the shows at Star Nations last week, and I got to my own, and I was kind of wondering, okay, what should we talk about this week? And so I connected with my spiritual team, and we were having a conversation about it. And very plainly, I heard being present when you don't want to be. Is okay. In fact, because life out there in good old 3D world has been kind of wonky, don't you think? Kind of crazy like. And so when we're in a spiritual awakening, when we're awakened in our spiritual life, and we understand what it means to be in the present moment, but when things are kind of wonky and crazy, do you really want to be present with that? Right. And so many times what we do is we find ways, or we create ways to kind of hide, really. And I don't know, Rob, I can hear you in the background. So I don't know if your mic is on. Rob is my producer extraordinaire. He's a good guy that keeps us on track with all the technology stuff. And so
I wasn't cussing under my breath, was I?
no, you weren't. You were just going click, 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 click. That's all. So yeah, you weren't divulging secrets or anything like that. You're just clicking a lot. So that's what tonight's show is all about. I don't know if you guys have found yourselves in that space, in that frame of mind, really, right? Because let's face it, it's been a rough start to 2020, don't you think? There's been between COVID and through the financial situation, and now all the political stuff and all that stuff that's happening right out there. All of the politicizing the police departments and that whole thing, that you really kind of find yourself pulling back, right? Even more than usual, finding ways to hide. Really, how much Netflix can you really watch, right? Or listening or reading books. Now, some of that stuff is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but when it's out of balance, and you're not really plugging into your life and really paying attention to what's going on, right? Yeah. I think we've all been through that to some extent since January or February. And here we are at the end of August, and we're finding that our old ways of dealing with things, some of them don't work anymore. Have you noticed that? It just doesn't work. Still going out in nature, still a good thing to be able to take a break from what's going on out there and getting into nature so that you can really remove some of the stressors, right? That still works. But there's other things that maybe won't are not working quite as good as they used to. And I think that Spirit's way of telling us or showing us that we need to make our own adjustments because our lives have shifted a lot. Even though your life may have not really changed all that much, there's a lot of things around you that has changed. And so sometimes our go to tools need to be tweaked a bit, right? Including our meditations, including possibly even the music that you listen to. Anything that we ingest, anything that we ingest maybe needs to be tweaked or shifted a bit to fit us more, better, right? I don't know. Let's say hi to a couple people in the chat. Okay, Rob? We get, of course, Rob is here. Rob is saying greetings from Facebook land. He's such a joker. Hey, Clara's here. Hello, Clara. She said she wanted to listen to the show tonight. Oh, Clara, and that reminds me. Thank you. I meant to make a suggestion. Is that I was going to have promised a few people that whenever I go live, that I would share with them, and I completely forgot. So hang on just a minute. Let me send this out, and we will get started with what we're going to talk about. Let's see. Again, I promised Violet that I would send it out. Violet and also Carol and Angelica. There we go. All right, I think I got them. Almost forgot. See, that's what happens when we start getting going. If I don't catch it right away, I'll forget. So, and Judy's here too. Hello, Judy, it's good to have you here. It's always good to see you in the house. Good to have you here. And Kimberly, hello, Kimberly. I bet you could attest to some of the things I just said, right? Yeah, Kimberly lives across the pond. She was in Scotland, and so there even something that we get to share across the world is how things are really kind of crazy out there, kind of wonky out there, and what we do to kind of cope with it, right? So thanks for being here, Kimberly. Hey, Julie. Hello, Julie. Good to have you here. And oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing it over to your show page. I appreciate that. Karen's here too. Oh, I know. We're going to get into it, Karen. We're going to get into tonight's topic because I think we've all kind of experienced some piece of that, don't you think? Yeah, I know I have. I know I have. And Deanna's here too. Hello, Deanna. It's good to have you here. It's good to have you here. It's always good to see you in the house. And Clara's saying, you can't discuss a topic, you don't need to choose a side, but sometimes a discussion needs to have informed decisions. Yes, exactly. Now, here's so true, Clara, so true. All right, so here's the thing is that there's so much going on out there in the world, right? That those of us that have been awakened to our spiritual path or physical life here as a spirit, right? That we've been around that block a few times, right? Is that sometimes what we do is that we end up pulling back, right? Pulling our energy in so that we're not involved in all the drama and trauma kind of stuff that's going on, which is good. It's good. But have you found that a lot of your go to tools aren't working as well as they used to? Right? And see, what I found for myself is that I need to tweak them because even though we're grounded, centered, and balanced, and our lives may not be as wonky and crazy as some out there, that we're still a part of it all. We can't disconnect ourselves completely because we're all interconnected all across Grandmother Earth. Every being is connected. And so whatever we do affects someone else, right? And so whatever they do affects us, right? Okay. So keeping that in mind, have you found that some of your tools that you usually use to de-stress and to get more centered may not be as effective as they used to be? And I found that to be true for some of the things that I do. Thank goodness I have an activated Merkaba, and it's been permanent for a really long time. And so when energies come through that I would think, how did you get through? You know, is that I have to pause and I have to actually talk to my spiritual team and say, okay, so tell me more about what this energy is. Why did this come through? What am I supposed to learn from it? What is it telling me? Right? That still works. What doesn't work, and that I had to tweak, is when and how I meditate. When and how I meditate. That I had to tweak. I had to tweak what I ingest, as in food, certain music. I had to change, right? And it's not like huge changes either, but it had to be tweaked in order for me to feel more present. And even though we might not enjoy the energy that's going on presently, we still need to be present, even when we really don't want to be. And it's okay. I think it's okay to take a break. I think it's okay to veg out on a movie. Depends on what kind of movie it is. I think it's okay to take extended time in nature, more than what you've normally done. I think all of that is okay. I think it's okay to take some time and just get involved in a book. You know, some people might call it escaping, and I guess in some ways it is, but in a lot of ways it's much needed for us to be balanced, right? And so have you find yourself tweaking your go-to tools? Let me know, okay? Let me know. And so, Rob, we have a lot of people making some comments. Let's get caught up with them, okay? Hey, Rochelle's here. Yay! Good to have you here, Rochelle. It's good talking to you the other day, too. Thank you so much. You're such a good, sweet lady. Thank you. And thank you for being grounded. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, too. Rob says you can change that on the right hand side by, oh, that wasn't for me. Kimberly, sitting with boundaries and protecting my energy and vibe. Yes. Thank you, Kimberly, because really, for me, it goes back to minding my own vibration, right? That hasn't changed. Minding my own vibration. What has shifted and changed is what I do to mind my own vibration, right? So sometimes I do need to take myself out and give myself an attitude adjustment more than usual. It's like, come on, Lokotz, get with it, you know, get present. Because what I find myself doing is maybe going too far out into the future and hanging out there too long. Okay, doing a lot of daydreaming, nothing wrong with that. I encourage it. But when we're not attending to what needs to get done presently, and that gets out of control or out of balance, it's like I pull myself back in. What's going on right now in my present moment? Or the opposite is spending a lot of time ruminating about the past, even if it was a close past, like a couple days ago, or maybe it's an event or a life issue that happened a decade or two ago, and you're still dealing with that, right? Your mind is still stuck on that. So you have to do something with it. You have to heal it, you have to deal with it, and then let it go, right? But when we find ourselves in either too much in the future or too much in the past, what's going on in the present moment? Because you're not there, right? You're being stretched in one direction or the other. Yeah. So, what Rochelle said about grounding, yes, And sometimes, for those that don't have an activated Merkaba, sometimes what you have to do is ground more than just a couple times a day. Have you found that to be true for yourself? Is like, because you can feel it. You can feel it when you're not grounded, centered, and protected, right? Because it feels different. You feel off, right? So, have you found you've had to do that more than a couple times a day? And if you have, that's okay. It's okay. For what we're going through, what we're experiencing, you may need to do that more than just a couple times a day. And it's good that you feel it and you act on it. That's being in the present moment. That's being in the present moment. Because when we can do that in the present moment, that means that those events and issues and things going on out there in the 3D world, however they touch your life, isn't going to be as shocking, and it's not going to be pushing you off balance, right? Because there's a lot of things going on out there that are shocking and could really push you off balance, right? So being in the present moment, even though you really don't want to be, is important. It's important for your spiritual growth. Yeah, here we go. Right back to that piece, right? So being grounded, centered, and protected. And you guys, those of you that have followed my shows, and I've been talking about this since December 12th, about then, 2018. Knowing, feeling it, didn't know to what extent, but knowing back then that this was going to be an important piece. Right? So, and it's even more important in the present moment right now. It's more important to be able to do that for yourself. Yeah. So, yes, you're right. You're right. It is a very important topic, and sometimes not a very easy one to talk about, especially for light workers and energy workers. Because, um, when our ego is involved, and we all have one, and it's good that we have one, we came in with one. But when it's even a little bit out of balance, what happens in the light worker world is that we want to be perfect, right? That we are this um, ascended or ascending spiritual being, and we are. But we're also human. We're also two-legged, and so sometimes we get knocked off balance. Sometimes we go through our own shocking experiences, right? Yeah. And sometimes we're not in the present moment. And our spiritual team is always with us, always. And they will send us in energy, information to help us to come back to the present moment, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's get caught up with people in the chat again, Rob. Where did we leave off? Rob says getting drunk and listening to Black Sabbath isn't good. No, not really. No, you know what? And I haven't, I haven't, I haven't had anything alcoholic to drink in almost a year. Um, my shock was the diabetic issue that came out of balance, right? And so that was mine. And yeah, crazy train. No, you're right. I know you're kind of kidding around, but there's some truth to that, Rob. There's truth to that. He's also saying, I attended Ed Langen's manifesting class this weekend. I heard it was really good. At one point, asked which choice sounds like your internal dialogue. The negative choice made me say, dude, that sounds like King Chrisman's lyrics. Well, see, hey, I know that sounds kind of out there, but you know what? That gets your attention, right? That makes you go, yeah, yeah. Years ago, mine was our Simon and Garfunkel. What was the song? Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta make the morning last. Yeah, every time I heard that song in my head,
That's not Simon and Garfunkel.
it's not. Who is it?
I'll find it.
Okay. Um, Gosh, I thought it was. Anyway, whenever I heard that song playing in my head, my team was telling me that I was moving too fast, that I needed to slow down and experience the present moment, right? Is to be
My
present.
bad. Yes, it was.
Oh,
I was thinking of the cover version.
well, see, there is that. Thanks for that. So, anyway, you got a point there. And so did Ed. You know, that spirit gives us, our spiritual team is always with us and it's always helping us, right? And it's the spiritual nudges, those nudges. And I'm sure you guys have been nudged a lot lately, right? To be present, to bring you to the present moment. Yeah. Let me know if your spiritual team gives you those nudges, those, hey, come back to the present moment, right? Because you're listening, then you're watching, you're sensing, and getting that information from them. Okay, so who's next? Thank you so much, Kimberly. I appreciate it. Judy says, "Oh yeah, readjusting your well-being within ourselves is hard because you wonder how we got there." Yes, yes, and especially Judy, especially when Earth time, that physical time, that's wonky. Have you noticed that? Time speeds up, slows down, speeds up, slows down. The other morning, in the mornings, I have to take my Jardiance. It's my medication, right? It's the only medication I'm on, and I usually drink a glass of good water, usually distilled water first, and then when I'm almost done with that glass of water is when I take my Jardiance with it, right? It's something I do every morning. And that morning, I couldn't remember. Did I take my pill, or was that yesterday morning? I couldn't. I couldn't remember. And so I ended up not taking it because I didn't want to double up on it. I figured I could test my glucose later in the day and it will tell me whether or not I took it because it'd be higher, right? And sure enough, it was higher. It was quite a bit higher for me. And so I knew that I hadn't taken it. So that meant I had to tweak something for myself so that I could tell in that moment, that present moment, that I did or didn't take my pill. Right? So I had to come up with something pretty easy. Was no big deal. It was like getting out a pill box with the letters of the week on them ones, and setting that up so that I could tell. No big deal. But you're so right, Judy. You're so right. Is that we have to do our own tweaks, our own adjusting. And sometimes there are little ones like that, and other ones are much bigger, right? So thank you, Judy, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Karen says, I give myself a timeout, regain my energy so current situations can best be handled. Yes. Yes. That's that timeout piece, right? And here's this one, Karen. Um, you know, I had, I was caregiving for two people at one time a few weeks ago, right? My mom and my husband. Paul had surgery. My mom was experiencing, the onset of grief because her younger sister passed away. So we had a whole lot of things going on. What happened is that I realized, you guys know I've been doing this tango with that diabetic thing, but my leg muscles, because of the previous medication I was on, was affected, and that came to a good solution. Good solution. I'm using a TENS unit, but with TENS, I found that I'm better off doing a session with the TENS in a quiet state. In other words, I'm either sitting or I'm lying down, and it's either 15 or 30 minutes, right? So I had to give myself a timeout in order to do that. And when I did that, I realized, oh my gosh, it's bringing me to the present moment, the present moment. So because it's a small electrical shock, I'm not out there in the future. I'm not out there in the past. I'm present because it's like little pins and needles sometimes. It's like bringing me back, right? So thank you for sharing that and giving yourself a timeout. That is self-care optimal, isn't it? Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure others are going to say, yeah, I could do that. I can give myself a timeout. So thanks for sharing that one. Good tip. 42nd Street. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. 42nd Street.
Harper's Bazaar did the cover song that I remember.
Mm, yeah. I don't hear it anymore, but in the old days, certainly that. And for a while there, I back in 2017, the song that would always come on the radio whenever I got in the car was Crazy Train, because 2017 was a crazy train. And so, but I don't hear that one anymore either. You know, and so anything that Spirit does to help you, your spiritual team nudges you to come back to the present moment, because this is where our spiritual growth is in the present moment. There's nothing wrong with doing some dreaming, daydreaming, and setting those manifesting seeds, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's when it gets out of balance. It's when we're using it to escape. Now that's out of balance, right? Um, when we're spending too much time in the past, ruminating about something that we haven't dealt with, and either make a decision to deal with it or just let it go completely, right? Yeah. So, it's like Karen says, today was definitely been a day of taking my time out. Yes, I would say in the last 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 days, it's been the energy out there has been crazy. There's craziness going on. Okay, so here's something. I think this was Clara that said this is that, we're talking about or discussing things that are difficult. And one of the things here in the States, anyway, is the difficulty is around police and around the U.S. postal system, right? And where the election is. And I usually don't get too caught up in all that stuff, but something happened here in Wisconsin a couple of days ago, and a person was shot by the police, and that person happened to be a black man. Okay, in the southeastern part of the state, and it has triggered, of course, protests and that sort of thing. And I know all this stuff needs to come to the surface. I know in my heart that the truth always comes to the surface, always. Sometimes we have to wait a while, but it always comes to the surface. So here in our state, and this happened a few years ago, because there were issues around how the police investigated themselves. Okay, that there was a law that was passed that investigating the investigation of police departments was going to happen by a outside department, an outside entity that's going to come in to do the investigation. Now that when that happened, there was a lot of people that didn't like that at all, especially anybody that was connected to the police, right? But here, as my mom watches like CNN and MSNBC all day, all night practically, and she's filling me in on it. And I said, a lot of people were against that law when it was first put in a few years ago, but here we get to see how it's really going to work or not, right? And for the good, for the greater good. And so sometimes we have to wait a bit. Sometimes it doesn't come in the earth time that we think it should. And so, yeah, those discussions are hard to have, because it's so polar, right? There's We're being shown in such direct contrast the polarity. the polarity. And so we get to choose. We get to choose, right? Are you going to be a part of the polarity, or are you going to be part of that unified field? That means you're coming from your heart. Even though it's wonky out there, we still have to be aware of it because it does, everybody affects each other, right? So if we can be grounded, centered, and protected, so that when we experience whatever that is on the outside of us in a way that is not going to be shocking and throwing us off balance, that we can actually help to stabilize it a bit, right? Yeah. So we can affect the energy around us. That's when you have to be present in the present moment. I sound like a broken record. In the present moment. Kimberly saying, a useful tip I have been guided to set a selenite grid around my bed to help my with clearing and sleep. Oh, that is another good tip, Kimberly. Using our allies, and they could be stones and crystals, and to be able to do that grid system. And it doesn't have to be a complicated grid, right? And it's tapping into our allies and asking them to do the work that they are meant to do, to hold the energy that they're created to hold. It's a good one. And stones and crystals are really good. Um, whether you use essential oils or flower essences, another good one. Um, Another good one is Reiki, right? Is setting up a grid system using your Reiki. So we have our tools literally at our fingertips, at our fingertips. But in order to utilize them and really be co-creative and work together, you have to be in the present moment, right? You have to be in the present moment. Isn't that right, Kimberly? I bet when you set up your grid and you selected the which selenite, you were very present in the present moment when you did that, right? Right. And so that's really helpful. The selenite is helping you to sleep and to clear while you're sleeping, but they were also helping you to be in the present moment. Yeah. And that when you're asking them to help. Yeah. So another good one. Good tip, Kimberly. Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness, Minnie's here. One of my sisters. She says, "Hi, Minnie. Hi, Neshi. Thanks for the reminder. Just finished supper." Oh yeah, you're welcome. Very welcome. Yeah. Okay. And we're talking about being in the present moment, even especially when you don't want to be, is what we're talking about tonight, Minnie. Minnie lives out in Colorado. And for those of you that are very familiar with the wildfires that are happening out west, um, yeah, Minnie has been keeping track of it for, and letting us know how close it is to her, and it's relatively close, um, and that sort of thing. So, in order to be in the present moment, even to help with those kinds of things, Minnie did a special drumming. Was that on Saturday, Friday or Saturday? Um, and so it's those kinds of things as energy workers, as light workers, that we get to um, assist with. And in order to really be of assistance, to be in service, we have to be in the present moment, right? We have to be in the present moment. Ah, yeah. All right. I got to take a drink of water. All right. So, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're finding it challenging, difficult to be in the present moment? And it can be a very extreme situation, someone close to you, or maybe it's even yourself, that is maybe going through something very physical or emotional breakdown. Maybe they're hurt. Watching somebody you love in pain is it's a hard place to be in, right? And do you ever notice that you forget to use your tools? You forget. As humans, it happens quite often. And one of the things I'd like to make a suggestion for you tonight is to have a plan in place. You know how out west, or if you live near a fault, earthquake areas, right? We're usually taught to have an emergency pack, right? Whether it's because you have like food and water, that sort of thing. You have a first aid kit, so you have this go-to pack, right? I would like to suggest to you that you have your own go-to pack for those moments that are shocking for you, for those moments where it's hard, really challenging for you to be in the present moment, so that you don't have to rely on your human memory. Remember to use something, to call on someone, right? To put your go-to tools in a list, or if they're physical, to actually have them in a physical pouch, something that you can grab right away. Whether it's rescue remedy, remember black rescue remedy, right? Or a flower essence or essential oil, trauma life or something like that, that when you have a shock that you can take it out. Telephone numbers in your cell phone, or maybe written on a piece of paper or something in your go-to pack, so that you can call someone in your close circle, so you can tell them, I need help. Something just happened, right? When you've been through a shock. And so you have a way to be able to have those people who are close to you to remind you, right? Did you ground? Are you grounded? Did you use your stones or crystals? Let's say a prayer together. Let's do the soul shaped prayer together, or something like that. Right? Something that you can do in the present moment to help your friend. So what I'm saying is to be prepared, to have some preparation in place. Your meditations, maybe it is to have one of the meditations that we did earlier in the year, right? On an MP3 downloaded to your phone, and it's on your list of allies, your list of tools, and you can put in your earbuds, right? And you can go through the meditation, being grounded, centered, and protected. Because when we're in those shocking moments, we forget. We forget to use our tools. We forget to call somebody sometimes because we think that we have to do it on our own when we don't. And our spiritual team's right there, right? That should be number one on the list. Call to your full spiritual team to please come close. I need your help. I need to be able to get through this piece, or calling in all the angels, to help, right? Yeah. Does anybody in the live chat, do you have a go-to pack like that? You know, Sometimes we don't really think about those things, like in those earthquake preparation kits. Yeah. You know, in some ways, and maybe in a lot of ways, we're all experiencing those shocking moments where we don't want to be in the present moment, right? We'd rather be anywhere but there. Yeah. It's almost like an earthquake or a tsunami. don't you think? Yeah. Do you remember? This was several years ago. Nate, what's Nate's last name? He was on Oprah quite often. He's a designer. Backus, Nate Backus. He and his husband, significant other, they were in, I can't remember which Asian country, and they literally had a tsunami, and it was devastating. Lost so many people that way, right? And it happened that his husband was one of those people who were swept out into the ocean. And talk about shocking. You don't think like anything like that's going to happen, right? So it was very shocking, and it took Nate years to get over that. Years to get over it. And you hear about people saying, especially when they live in a flood zone or a tsunami zone like that, is you're watching the animals, because when the animals start going to the higher elevations, go to the higher elevations, follow them, right? And so the animals are your allies. They're the indicators. Right? The indigenous people in those islands knew that they had to move to a higher elevation. So my suggestion for us is to have um, those packets, a packet of information ready to go, right? Maybe it's a list, like I said, a list, a checklist, or maybe it's something physical. Maybe it is your chanupa, your pipe. Maybe it is your drum. Maybe it is a stones or crystals, right? Is to have a go-to packet ready to go, so that all I have to do is open my packet. That's the only thing you have to remember, because once you start pulling things out, it's going to start clicking. Your spiritual team is going to start helping you, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We have a couple more comments. Peggy, warm bath and Epsom salts. Yes, a good clearing too, right? And it helps you to relax. It helps you to relax and clear away all of that debris in your auric field. Yeah, it's a good one too, especially those who love to take baths. And if you're not one of those people, you can still take a shower, right? A warm shower, hot shower, and you can have a salt scrub. You can do that too. So a nice tip, Peggy. Thanks for sharing that one. Like your profile, by the way. It's cute. It's cute. Yeah, Nate Burkus. That's it. Nate Burkus. Yeah, I mean, it was so sad for watching him go through that. Rochelle says, no, but I'm going to put one together. I need it during the times of when you have an electrical outlet. Right, outage. Exactly. It's very similar to that. We take care of our physical body that way, right? And I'm saying, why just take care of the physical body? Let's take care of our whole being, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body, right? Because we're in shocking times. My sisters, right? We have a Facebook Messenger group, and the other day, there was a lot of messages coming through, and I realized it's like, oh my gosh, we are going through one shock after another. Each one of us was experiencing something very shocking, and all I said to my sisters is like, you know, what we need as a group, what we need is like a blanket from the Creator, that's in gold, silver, white colors, pink for love, right? Gold for blessings, silver for and white for that protection. Because it was like each one of us was experiencing something very shocking, differently for each one of us, but it was like pop, 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 all within a few hours of each other. And so, yeah, I think we have to do that kind of um, go-to packet for that covers our entire being holistically, right? So thank you for that, Rochelle. Let us know. Let me know how that turns out for you. Whenever you get in a fix, you just reach into your bag of tricks. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Rob. Deanna saying, yes, having joined in your daily meditations, I go to the focus and let go. I smudge daily and gifted pounds of smudging. Oh my goodness. Good one, Deanna. Yay. It's another good tip, really, that smudging, right? Yeah, Peggy does those baths with the Epsom salt. The smudging, that's a really good ally. It really is. Um, and for my mom, so we grew up, well, yeah, I guess I'm going to say we. Both she and I grew up using cedar. For those Native Americans east of the Mississippi that do things more in a traditional way, right? We we use cedar like those people west of the Mississippi use a white sage. Does the same thing. And so, what my mom likes, and I find very comforting, is cedar. And so I found some cedar incense that she can tolerate because the older she got, the less this actual smoke was helpful for her. And so I found some incense that she has me light, every couple times a week, couple times a week, and so it smells so good, and it's very comforting. It's very comforting, and it also removes lower vibrational energies, right? Yeah. So thanks for sharing that, Deanna. That smudging. Yeah, it's a good one. So I hope our conversation tonight, which was a good one, I like having these conversations with you guys, was helpful because when Spirit brought this topic to me last week, I think it was Thursday, because I was getting the shows prepped for this week, um, and I was asking my team about what's important for us to cover this coming week. And when I heard that phrase, about being in the present moment, even when you don't want to be, um, it was a topic that we needed to bring to the surface because, as I said, light workers and energy workers, sometimes, when our ego is involved, we want to be the star student, right? We want to be the at the best part of that. And so whenever we're going through something that we might think is less than that, we don't share it. We don't talk about it. And yet we're still two-legged, we're still human, and we're still learning. And so we need to talk about these things. We need to share about what works for us and what doesn't, right? What doesn't. Yeah. And you may find that some of your tools, your go-to items to stay grounded, centered, and protected may need to be tweaked, may need to be shifted a bit because energetically, we are not the same people we were energetically since February, March, April, May. Every month we've had something astrologically, astronomy. We've had so many changes brought to us and a lot of energy shifting everyone and everything that sometimes our old go to stuff needs to be shifted to. Yeah. Gotta take another drink because I kind of swallowed a little bug. One of those tiny little flies wanted to come in. All right. So Kimberly said something here. Let's see what you say, Rob. There it is. She says, I noticed at the moment light language a go to just now. Ah, see? Absolutely. Kimberly, one of the things that happened this morning to me, talk about light language, literally light. Um, I was sitting in my living room, and for those of you who have been at my house, you know that I have crystals, feng shui adjustment in my front window, and happens to be a crystal, right? And I like sitting in there in a certain part of the morning because the sun hits that crystal, and I have rainbow lights all over the living room. right? So I like to sit in there with my tea or my coffee at a certain time in the morning. And I was doing that. And there's a smaller crystal that's hanging there as well. And with that one, I noticed that it was when the air, the AC kicked on, it's light enough that it actually kind of moves a bit on its own, right? That the way that little crystal was moving, it looked like a streak of light literally going across my wall and left and right. So I did a little video of it. I'll see if I can get it posted for you guys. But it was fantastic. The light show that was going on in my living room this morning. And I had to sit there and I think, when was the last time it was like this? And I can honestly say that it was never to that degree, because I do that quite often. And it was definitely different this morning. It was more intense, right? So, noticing little things like that in the moment, in the moment. So thank you for sharing that, Kimberly. Sparked a memory for me from this morning. So we're heading up on the top of the hour. And I said a couple of things earlier that I want to kind of backtrack to, okay? Because I'd like you to be invited to something. And that is, I'm teaching a class. It actually is an online class, and it starts next month. I think it's on the 26th. We're going to be meeting every Sunday for 6 weeks in this class, and it's called The Journey of Remembering. And in this particular class, we're going to be meeting for a couple of hours, right? Looks like 3 hours. The 3 hour class once a week. And this class is based off from a class that I taught a few years ago, and it's based on the illuminated heart, and it's about ascension. It's about learning and remembering how to create from the tiny space of your heart, and it's about remembering our joy, right? That we have the ability to be able to hold that frequency of love, and in remembering how to do that, the next piece, the next frequency is joy. And in order to create from our heart, we have to be able to hold that love vibration so that we can make that leap to joy. Okay. And so in this class, really, that's what that's all about. And also activating your Merkaba. And so I wanted to share this with you because when we're able to stay in the present moment, the one tool that I found that is my reliable, right? My steady tool is my Merkaba. And it has been one of those tools that has helped me the most in my soul growth, has accelerated my soul growth. My husband, actually, what he says is that that being with you is no longer an emotional roller coaster, because being a triple fire, there was a lot of fire going on in the early days of our marriage, and so once I activated the Merkaba, I was able to learn more about being in balance and how to hold that balance, because my Merkaba helps me to do that. And so the journey of remembering is kind of a special class because we're only having 12 people. Okay, so it's a small class. When I was teaching this in the old days, we were going anywhere between 15 to 25 people. But this is brand new because this is the first time I'm teaching it online. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to spend time with each one of the students in the class. Okay, so that's why it's a small class. And it's going to be for 6 weeks, every Sunday for 3 hours for 6 weeks. And they'll take us up until the end of October. And whether or not we do it in person or if we do it online, we're going to be doing that Merkaba activation. So the first 12 people that are going to be going through this class with me, you guys, I'm going to be calling you founders. You're going to be the founding students for this class. And Yeah, for the first online stuff. So if you're interested, you can check us out on our website, starnations.org. Go to the Academy page, and the full description is going to be there and how to register and that sort of thing. So I hope you can join me. I really would. Can't wait. Can't wait. I really enjoy teaching this class. I really do. It's one of the gifts that came my way a few years ago. And in that story, I'll share with you guys on another show because we're at the top of the hour and I don't want to keep you all that long. So I'm hoping that you guys will see if this vibrates for you. If it is something that is feels good to you, right? And then you can join us. So, you want to bring up the last couple of comments before we say goodnight? Julie says, thanks for all these tips, Julie. And Julie is another person who does the baths, right? And she attests to those, the salt baths. And I think you say that you put rose petals, right, in your baths. Yeah. So, anything to help you stay in the present moment is good, really good. Okay, thank you, Julie, and thank you for being here. Kimberly saying, amazing. Thank you, Kimberly. Maybe you can join us. Karen says, I'm very excited about the class. Love adding to my toolbox. Yay. Me too, Karen. Me too. Me too. Minnie said, thank you, Neshi. Thank you, Minnie. Minnie. Yeah, one of the other things I'm going to add to this, because Minnie just reminded me of it, is certain people in your life can help you stay in the present moment too. Okay, so those of you who have grandchildren, okay, that grandchild can help you come into the present moment and to be able to be present with them in that moment, right? Create those memories that they're going to have, right, in this present moment. And nieces and nephews, your own children, it's those people in our lives that can help us do that too. They're our allies as well, right? So many what she does is she shares with us, her sisters, moments with her grandchild, and we've come to know those days as grandson days because Sharon does the same thing. We call those grandson days, and sharing pictures and stories about their grandchildren. So, and you can feel the love in it, right? So love for the people in your lives will also bring you to the present moment. Yay. And I want to thank you, Deanna. Thank you. So I want to thank each of you for being with me this evening, Tuesday, August 25th. And I'd enjoyed our conversation about being in the present moment, even when we really don't want to be, right? And thank you for sharing your tips and what works for you. I appreciate it. And so, Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. I love you guys. Have a good night, evening.